That puts our match at 3-2, favoring Complexity. We are going into the next match, which is going to be Zan versus Coma. Zan is No Dice Gaming's Complexity, has Coma. Coma is a 17-year-old Canadian Terran player, and he has previously qualified for WCS, so no short stack in terms of capability.
Absolutely not. None of these players are a short stack at all. I mean, so far, this is the third week of SC2CTL that we've been casting. The quality of games we've seen is very, very high. I would say much higher than we saw in the beginning of Season 1. So definitely a lot of player development, a lot of high-end players here as well. So
yeah, well, I have to say that I think that the visibility post Season 1 definitely contributes to the team rosters of Season 2. We had some really cool folks playing in Season 1, and they played their hearts out, and they created great drama. If you missed any of those, the VODs are available on demand at one of those links that you can see there in the top left-hand corner of your screen. But seeing those great games, seeing the passion of the players, and seeing just the drama and the just everything that goes into the entire thing, it's just really a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to be a part of. I'm sure that people saw that and were eager to join up for Season 2, and I imagine that the cash prize didn't hurt either.
Absolutely not, as that's not something that we had last season. Last season we had cool items that were given out as prizes, but cash is pretty awesome as well. So it looks like in chat, MetaKing is saying Zan equals Cold Scars, which is who is on the roster. I'm not sure if that can be confirmed or not, but I'll say Zan is definitely not who was listed, but maybe just a different account. But looks like this is real life, and this is game number 6, and we are headed on into it. If you are ready, Mr. Gallegation.
Oh, I sure is.
All right, let's do it. Jumping into Galaxy's Blood Mist in the lower right-hand corner. Covered in purple this game, representing Complexity, it is the Terran player, Coma.
And in the top left-hand corner, representing Team No Dice Gaming, it is Zan.
So we have a TVT. We have not had one of these so far this week so far. As I was mentioning before, we have seen a lot of Game 7s. What do you make of that?
We have seen a lot of Game 7s?
Yeah, there's been a lot of Game 7 series so far early in the season, which did not seem to be the case last year. What do you make of that?
Oh, what I make of that is that Troy's been working hard to increase the effectiveness of the pairing system and his system in terms of determining who plays who. As people seem to be going against teams that are of equal skill, I think it helps that we switch to the Pro League format. There's just a number of, I think, administrative and procedural changes that took place that is making the competition this year a lot more intense than it was last year.
Indeed, and that is cool to see. And another big change, obviously, is also its Pro League format as opposed to All Kill. So that making for some of those interesting matches as well, where one player last season may come out and sort of finish off a series that is not possible. The only way you can replay is in a game number 7, where you can pick one of the players that already played for your ace match. We are not quite there yet. We will see if we get there. That is going to require a win from Zan of No Dice Gaming to tie it up 3-3. We will see if he can pull it off. But real quick here, before we get too far into the game, we do want to remind you also this season is sponsored by Mythologic. We recommend you go out to Twitter or Facebook or mythologic.com and search for and find them. They make some pretty awesome custom gaming rigs, and they've been really awesome to SC2CTL so far this season in donating said prize money we were just talking about. So check them out. As an SCV is going to be headed across the map here by Coma. He does have the free ability to walk on up the ramp, as Zan has not built any buildings down there. He is going to see the barracks and the factory in production, as well as one gas mining. And all right.
So it looks like both players actually have very identical builds coming out here. We see TVT fairly often, as Troy is saying in the chat. Fun fact, TVT is literally the best matchup in the universe. What are you expecting to see out of these players in this match?
Me or Troy?
You yourself. We know what Troy's just expecting rainbows and butterflies and unicorns and everything, but what are you expecting?
Well, the thing that I like to see, I'm not sure if we will see it or not. It's looking like it so far is the sort of Heart of the Swarm 1-1-1 builds. We saw one game last season that was my favorite game of all time. Looks like the starport is coming down for Coma, and as well for Zan, as you noted. So very identical builds. One game last season that was my favorite TVT of all time was where one of the players went for Cloak Banshees and the other went for Mines, which two players with minimal ability to detect burrowed or cloaked units makes for interesting games. So we'll have to see what the unit choices are out of both of these players, but there are definitely a lot of interesting possibilities, and it seems like almost every game, as Zan did say, who scouts in this matchup, because you know exactly what's going to happen. Not many early expands, pretty much Barracks, Factory, Starport, and it looks like we're going to have the Cloak Banshees coming out of Zan, so what is it going to be out of Coma? Looks like he's waiting to swap the starport with the tech lab, so it's going to be Cloak Banshees on both sides, methinks.
Yeah, and it looks like Coma did kind of slow his build down a little bit to get a couple of Hellions out. One is currently chasing down Zan's SCV, and it is going to get that killed. Second one is still in production and is going to be hanging out at the top of the ramp with those Marines. This Hellion's not going to be able to get a whole lot done, as these supply depots are kind of in the way.
It did poke out the ramp far enough to see the starport there and producing a unit, but he did not get far enough to see whether it was a tech lab or a reactor. So he's not exactly sure if that's going to be Banshees or Medivacs just yet.
I think he can be exactly sure that it's Banshees, but...
Well, you never know. I mean, there are some builds, too, where you come out and just do a very early Marine drop with combat shields, not even stim. I've seen a couple times, but we'll see. These Banshees are going to be just crossing the path each other. They do fly in range of each other, so both players know that Banshees are headed their direction, and a Raven coming out from both players as well.
That's right, but Coma is a little bit further behind in that Raven than his opponent, and so Zan is going to have free reign here for a few minutes. There is enough for a scan, but does he want to use it? It doesn't not quite look like it.
He doesn't really have anything to do. He does have a couple Marines there, and they are going to finally force that away, but now the Banshee moving in on the others. Oh, actually, the Hellions were poking away at Zan's base, but the Raven now is out for both players, so Cloak not going to be much of a factor anymore, but Banshees are actually able to do quite a bit of damage to Marines with the proper amount of micro, which it looks like Zan has so far, but that command center is just not going to be built here anytime soon.
Absolutely not. It looks like Coma did end up losing his Banshee. That Raven there not really leading itself to the cloaking capability of the Banshee, so it looks like Coma is going to be switching into the Vikings.
I like Zan's play here with getting the Raven and putting that auto turret out there. Auto turrets are literally one of the coolest things in the game. I love just goofing around as Terran and going all Raven and making a ton of auto turrets. But this mine is going to be taking an interesting little path here across the map. Not sure what his plan is yet other than just sneaking around. Marines trying to take out this Hellion. Looks like it is going to escape, just avoiding that auto turret as well, as the expansion for Zan is down and is going to begin mining the minerals. The mine from Zan now has worked its way all the way to the natural expansion of Coma.
Not really seeing a whole lot there. I feel like Coma's kind of in an awkward position here. His Banshee got shut down very quickly. He did get the cloak upgrade for it, and so now that's got to kind of feel a little bit silly, as he's not really making any more of those, now switching more into factory tech, it appears, and only now just now expanding.
Unfortunately, Coma did not get that mine burrowed, so Coma was actually able to just kind of walk down there and take it out pretty easily. But now he does have a tank here, which is a good unit to have in this position, so he'll be able to defend a lot of these little pushes. Another Banshee from Zan is moving out across the map, but the definite advantage there with the Banshee was definitely on Zan's side, as he did get a few SCV kills. Looking at the numbers, it was 5-1. But because it delayed that command center of Coma so much, it really took him quite a while to get that down. Now there is a Banshee of Zan in Coma's base once again. However, it did get a few more kills, as there wasn't really anything there to kill it, waiting for enough energy to put down that auto turret to finally take it out. A Banshee at the natural expansion as well.
That's right, and it looks like the same group that was trying to take out the other one, the Viking and the Raven, are moving down to try and take this out as well, and it is going to get killed.
Oh, just barely escapes.
Again, now they're 1 HP.
Fly like the wind, says Zan. Fly away. Oh, but it looks like these Vikings, given the right trajectories here, are going to try and cut this Banshee off and trap him in the corner. But the Banshee does have 1 HP left, so it is only going to take one more shot to take that out. So we did hear in chat that both of these players are friends, and as we've seen so far, some fairly friendly commentary in the player chat. But some divergent builds here now, as there's tanks from Coma and not tanks from Zan. Oh, there are tanks now. 2 tanks in the front, so fairly similar.
Yeah, Zan is now, though, loading up a couple of medevacs that he's going to be dragging across the map here. He's got a tank and a bunch of Marines ready to drop onto his opponent's mineral line. There is a tank there for Coma, and that auto turret still does have about half its time remaining. So there is some defense here, but that tank's going to be doing just as much damage to his own SCVs as he's going to be dealing.
Ooh, a couple big shots on that tank right as it gets sieged by the tank of Coma. That does get taken out pretty quickly. This drop is not going to get a lot done. Coma was fairly well prepared for that. Vikings actually taking out one of the medevacs too, so that was a pretty big loss for Zan, as he's now going to be making a push into the front. There is a mine coming into those tanks, going to hit both of them.
Oh no, and so many of the Marines get killed by that, hitting the tanks. One of the tanks does go down. But Zan is going to be getting all that cleaned up, it looks like. So, great defense there by Coma on multiple fronts, although there is another drop in the main base, and the tanks do fall. Oh, but, jeez, oh Pete, Zan's medevac falls while being completely full. Coma is all over the place doing all the damage.
Coma saying, well, but those Vikings of Coma definitely paying off big time. He's taken down 3 medevacs so far now. Yet another drop coming in from Zan. He's trying to find an angle that works on this, boosting in, making the drop, but that tank is ready to be sieged there. Dropping on top of it, tank does go down, is going to be taking some free shots, but the SCVs surround the drop. The tank of Coma is dead. Now Zan finally getting some damage done, but he is not going to be able to get out as the Viking is taking out that medevac. But the tank is sieged. There are some Marines left, so Zan is going to get the damage done on this drop that he wanted to on the others, it looks like.
Yeah, and that last drop was able to do a lot of damage to the units of Coma. Coma now forced to land these Vikings to try and do any damage that he can, clean up that tank. It does fall, but one of the Vikings does fall. The second one is shortly behind. Oh, it does hang out with 17 more hit points, but there is a lot of units lost here, and there's not really a whole lot left for him. He's only got 28 SCVs compared to the 51 of his opponent.
Yeah, Zan has killed 27 SCVs of Coma, so that is a pretty big deal. As you mentioned, there's quite a disparity in the worker count, 52 to 30, so the economy of Zan is only going to continue to ramp up here, so he actually gives him the ability to kind of do these sacrificial drops like that as long as he can keep doing economical damage. It looks like a sensor tower now coming out from Zan's. He does not want any sneaky drops to sneak up on him as well. More tanks and infantry upgrades as well. It looks like another drop going to be boosting into. He's found a sweet spot on this backside. Coma having one sieged tank in the middle and another one heading out to the natural expansion, but does not quite get sieged up. But big shots coming out from this tank. One tank is going to fall before even getting a shot off, and Coma was ready that time.
He certainly was, and Zan forced to move back out and try and find a different position to move in by, but he is definitely subscribing to the death by drop mentality here. Looks like one Marine was trying to stim up and join his friends, but is going to get left behind ultimately.
He's doing a really nice job, though, but he does keep attacking on the same angle, so it's no surprise that Coma is defending that backside and his main base quite a bit heavier than the front. Looks like there's only one tank out there. Not too worried about any frontal pushes, but it looks like Zan is starting to rally himself up in the center of the map with a large number of Marines and a good number of tanks. Looking at the unit count, it is 50 Marines to the low number of 19 for Coma, so that economy is starting to show itself in the total unit count. Looks like he might try to do some kind of elevator up the cliff here, not sure. It looks like a scan up top. He does see the tanks and positioning of the army. Gonna go ahead and move on into the natural base, seeing that Coma is sieged up in the main base.
And the tanks are doing quite a bit of damage to the Marines, but there's so many Marines moving forward, stimming the tanks in the low ground, doing huge damage, and there is the GG.
Indeed, and it looks like there was some really neat control by Zan there. I don't know if you saw, but that group of Marines just kind of fanned out into this awesome concave. You could see the individual clicks going down, so some good control by Zan. I wasn't quite sure in the beginning. Obviously, he got a good bit of damage done with those Banshees that Coma just didn't. He lost that Banshee pretty quickly to the Marines with the Raven there, but delaying that command center of Coma was the first big thing he did, and then those two drops that got taken out pretty quick by Coma. I felt may have made up a little bit of ground for Coma, but then the third and fourth drops did not quite defend as well, and that really made up a lot of ground and killed a lot of workers, and Zan from that point was just able to macro it out.
Yeah, Zan, I feel like really had great macro in that game. He was, I mean, micro and macro. He had the whole yin yang going. Was able to do those drops. Did the first drops that he did got defended very well, frankly. Just from going to the back to the front to the back again. Was able to kind of deal with a lot of that damage, but had taken so much damage overall that he was still kind of limping from it. But Zan, in the meantime, had been able to fill up another 2 medevacs full of units, was already speeding across the map by the time that defense had finished, and was really just able to do rapid succession punches that kind of left Coma staggering, and was finally able to do the knockout punch, which got him the game. So that puts the series at 3-3 here.